Hey everybody, it's Maggie. Today I thought I would do an overdue short presentation on what is the Peace Corps. As many of you know, I am currently in South Africa and I am on a 2 year and 3 month assignment with the Peace Corps, and I am in South Africa somewhere. I can't tell you exactly where we are for safety reason, but what is a Peace Corps? And then after I explain what it is, then I can tell you why I am here, right? I turned 65 this year. I retired a couple of years ago. You probably also know that I moved to Panama as a retiree. But the Peace Corps came in between my retirement and my moving to Panama. So, because the process can be arduous and takes a little bit of time, by the time I was cleared, and I'll explain what that means. It was smack in the middle of me doing my residency for Panama. So I ended up going to Panama in January of this year, and I stayed there for 6 months. And in August, I left the United States for South Africa. First of all, the Peace Corps. The Peace Corps is a global volunteer organization that was not enacted, but was begun in 1961 by then Senator John F. Kennedy. He was speaking to a group of students in Michigan at a university, and then remember his famous line that says, "Ask not what your country can do for you, ask what you could do for your country." And he had that mindset of service and globalization even then. So the Peace Corps was started as an initiative of the senator in 1961. And the goal of Peace Corps is to promote peace and friendship around the world. And in doing so, the Peace Corps has three goals. One goal is to promote friendship. Another goal is to expose people from other countries to the American culture. And on the flip side, for other countries to get to know us as Americans. And those goals have not changed over 60 years now. So the Peace Corps, they started, I don't know exactly where they went the first time, but of course, countries that have need for expertise from people from America. So it could be agriculture, it could be community development, it could be health related issues, which is where I come in, and it also could be education. I think we have like five sectors, and agriculture, five sectors. Don't quote me on that. But the Peace Corps has been operating. So, as an American initiative, the Peace Corps is under the umbrella of the federal government. So, we do have budget and laws and initiatives are enacted by Congress. Okay. So, we have been funded until now, but we never know with each administration what could happen. But Peace Corps has such a great reputation that hopefully its existence is not going to be jeopardized. So, having said that, Americans have volunteered in over 60 countries. With COVID and other instances, whether you have political unrest, wars, epidemic, pandemic, like we had with COVID, sometimes they'll pull away. They'll take the volunteers out of the country. But we have had some really notable individuals serve in the Peace Corps because it's only a 2 year deployment or commitment. Most people can do that. And President Jimmy Carter's mom was a nurse, and she was one of the volunteers. And a lot of the volunteers have been politicians, people who served in the Peace Corps, then went into politics, and the people who have headed the Peace Corps organization, a lot of them have been previous prior volunteers. And what the Peace Corps does, the application and training is a little bit stringent. Requirements for a volunteer, of course, you have to have a heart to serve. You have to want to see beyond the US borders to other countries. You have to have a minimum of a bachelor's degree. So that itself elevates the pool of volunteers to people who are educated, who've done project management, who understand a little bit of a global view of the world, and they don't take anybody. So you have to go through the interview process. You have to, when you do your application online, which is what I did, you have to say why you want to serve in the Peace Corps. What are your, um, what are the things that, what's the word I'm looking for, that inspire you to want to leave the comforts of home to go to another country? And of course, most of the countries Peace Corps volunteers serve in are developing countries who, because of whatever the reason might be, have a shortfall in terms of expertise in certain areas, right? So I talked about what you must have. Now, if you want to serve in the Peace Corps, what you do is you go online, and they advertise all the time. In fact, I just saw an advertisement on my phone. You put in an application, you fill out, you do your statement, your reasoning for why you want to serve in the Peace Corps, and you could uh, tell on your application which continent, which part of the world you're most interested in. It could be Asia, it could be Africa, Europe, Caribbean, South America, Central America, right? Um, and then if your application gets picked, they feel you might be a good candidate, then you'll get an email for an interview. So you interview, I think it's an hour and a half interview where they ask you, and they have recruiters, and they have a script. They ask you these questions. Like when you go in an interview, they say, tell me the worst time you've had, a difficult situation, how you handled it. Then they get an idea of how your mind works and how you would best function in a very um, unfamiliar, which is a good word, unfamiliar environment. So I hope the light doesn't dim really fast, because this is load shedding right now. We're gonna have load shedding from 5 to like 9 o'clock. So it's like a 4 hour load shedding. And I did do like a short vid about what load shedding is. Schedule blackouts. So once you do the interview, if you pass the interview, then you get a letter, what they call it, you get an invite. Okay, they'll take into consideration your attributes and where you said you would most likely want to serve, or you could say wherever needed, and then they have places in all different countries. Peace Corps doesn't decide to go in a country unless they've been invited by the government of this country. Okay, we don't just invite ourselves. So they know the program. It got a great reputation. So they'll say, oh, we have trouble, not trouble, but we could use some expertise in education, learning, teaching children English. We could use some expertise in agriculture, in crops and stuff like that. Or they could say, we have some health challenges that we would like help with. In South Africa, that is an area, I'm trying to see if I can find my little lamp here, because my light is going down. So bear with me. I have a headlamp. We have all kinds of little things. Let's see. Okay. It's gonna too bright. Okay, right there. Okay. So they get invited, and the government will pinpoint the sector that they feel they could use some help in. All right. Then it's an invite. You're an invitee at that time. Then you have to go through the screening process. There is a legal process and there's a medical process. The medical process goes from top to bottom. You have to have test after test after test. You get screening for everything from top to bottom. Okay, so you have to be prepared for that. The Peace Corps does provide some reimbursement for some of the tests, but not all the like immunization. So make sure you have your immunization card, because if you're going to serve in a country where they have issues with, for example, malaria or anything else, you got to make sure you have your shots up to date, right? So that takes a little bit of time because you assign a nurse, and then the nurse is going to send you what they call tasks. And then they'll say, okay, we need you to do, oops, sorry. Ooh, can't get the light right. We need you to do this and do that. And then you stay busy just completing all these tasks. Okay. And then legal. So you have to get FBI fingerprints. And if there's anything that happened in the past, it's going to show up. And then they have to decide, their legal department is going to decide, is it something we can let go or not? Because otherwise you will be denied. Okay. And when it comes to the medical portion, certain conditions might be a little bit tricky, like if you've been treated for ADHD or depression, they want to make sure you stabilize, because you're going to be going into areas where there isn't that much support, right? So you have to be able to be self-reliant, you may be isolated, and you have to be okay with all that. But on the ground in each country, there is a Peace Corps team that includes doctors, psychologists, and all kinds of people. So the process to be um, screened and approved can take a year or year and a half. I think for me, it was about 8 months. Okay. Once you're cleared, then you get clearance. Then they say, okay, this cohort, your group will be deployed. I keep saying deploy, but that's not what I meant. Your group is going to leave for this country maybe in 6 months. And then along the time, they'll have more tasks for you to complete. So I did all that, and I don't want to go into the details of I was supposed to go to Madagascar first and in South Africa. That's for another video. But once everything is clear, then we have Zoom meetings and you get to meet your counterparts, the people who are going to be with you, and then they make all the arrangements for your travel. You don't have to pay for any of that. Um, and then you get to come to your country of um, designated country. Okay, I'm not going to go into what the onboarding is per se, because it might be a little bit, the light, it might be a little bit tedious, but it's, you get 2 years to serve, but you get 3 months of training. So depending on where you're going, you may have to do language training, which is what I'm doing right now. And let me tell you, it's not easy. I feel like a missionary that is going to a country where I don't speak the language, and that could be pretty challenging. Okay, my goodness. Okay, I need to finish this because the light is bad. Okay, so this is the Peace Corps. The Peace Corps is well respected around the world. And one of the benefits of Peace Corps is that when you finish your training, your service, they have all kind of opportunities in terms of loan repayment, opportunities to work with NGOs around the world, and kids who, I was gonna say a gap year, but it's not a gap year because you could you have to have a bachelor's degree, so you have to have gone to college, right? And the age of the Peace Corps volunteer used to be 22, something like that, but now they've opened it to more to older people. And people like myself in my 60s, we have people in my cohort in their 70s. So we have expertise and skills that we can share with the world. And that's where we start. So again, I apologize. Load shedding is a reality here in South Africa, and you kind of have to, um, plan your life around it. I don't want this video to go longer than 15 minutes, so I'm going to stop right here. But just know that it's a once in a lifetime experience. You will learn a new culture. You have to be open to that. So if you just want to stay in your little corner of the world and you like all the conveniences, Peace Corps is not for you, because there are a lot of inconveniences in terms of things that we used to, like data, internet, Wi-Fi. Those are luxuries, okay? So you have to learn to navigate all that. But anyway, I just wanted to give you a synopsis of what the Peace Corps is and why I'm here. I'm retired and I want to give back. Ok, bye bye, au revoir, à la prochaine.